In the English HSC Advanced or Standard course is one of the most important skills that you'll need to know. In the HSC exam, you will possibly write up to 4 essays or extended responses, but today we're going to talk about essay writing, and you might want to watch this clip a number of times. So the first thing I think is really important is, what is a thesis? Your thesis is the driving part of your essay, the driving force, and without a really strong thesis that refers to the question and answers the question that you're going to get in the HSC, you really can't get a top mark writing an essay. So what is a thesis? Basically, as simply put, it's your argument, and HSC markers want to know what you think in reference to the question, the module and the texts, okay? The HSC markers, we know what the texts are about and we know what the modules are about. We want you to tell us your perspective, and you need to do that through independent research and knowing the texts really, really well. So what's your argument? You might come into the essay with a number of ideas about what you think about the modules and the text, but you really need to make sure that they can be adjusted to the question that you get on the day, because you don't know what question you're going to get, and you need to make sure that you answer that question in a sustained way. Now, you might get feedback that says that you need to have a sustained thesis throughout your essay. What does that mean? It means that you need to continually refer to your argument right throughout your essay. So for you to stand out amongst the crowd, you need to have your perspective and your thesis and your argument within the essay with your piece of related material that you've chosen that you think will work really well with the argument that you're trying to put forward. So they're really important points that you need to think about when writing your essay, because without a sustained thesis you will never get into the A or B range, possibly not even the C, because I often think if you don't have a sustained thesis, then you have a summary, and summaries, never get beyond the C or D range ever. So once you understand the structure of an essay, it's really quite easy, but you need to plan. And even if you have 40 minutes to write a written response in an exam, you really need to spend 4 or 5 minutes planning, because it will save you time later on. How many times have you just gone ahead and written an essay, and 20 minutes in, you don't know where you're up to, you don't know what to write, you're panicking, and you usually end up summarising. But if you have a plan written down that involves your structure, then you can keep referring back to it and tick off what you've done, and then you know where you're going to next. So those 3 or 4 minutes at the beginning of an essay is going to save you time in the end. So let's talk about a senior essay for advanced or standard English. You need to be looking at least 800 to 1,000 words, and you need to be writing that in the exam in 40 minutes. That is a skill in itself, something that you'll need to practice writing under time constraints, and it's something that we'll do in class and you'll do with your teachers, but something you also need to do at home. When faced with, let's just say 1,000 words, because it's a nice round number, when you're faced with 1,000 words, it can be really daunting and you kind of often don't know where to start. But I want to start straight away by breaking it up. So say your essay has an introduction, a conclusion, and 3 parts to the body. So if your introduction and your conclusion are around 150 words each, that's already 300 words done, and we'll go through what an introduction and a conclusion should include. And then you've got your 3 bodies. So if you're dividing that up, and if my maths is correct, you're looking at around about 233 words per body, which all of a sudden isn't much, and your concern should now be not can I fill all this space, but wow, am I going to have enough words to say what I need to say? So structuring in that way can all of a sudden relax you and think, okay, I can write 233 words per body because I'm going to show you what each section will need to include. Planning is really important. So first of all, you need to look at your introduction. What does an introduction need to include? You need to include a reference to the question, which should be your thesis. Just rewording the question is not really sophisticated enough, so you need to be looking at the question and turning that into your overall thesis. Then you will state the text that you're studying, the composers, including your related material, if that is required, and the context of the text, and you'll also state what they are. Is it a play? Is it a film? And please get those little details right. Get the form correct and spell the author's name correctly. There's nothing worse than having students not taking the time to get these little details correct, and it really gives a first impression when you're reading someone's introduction. The next thing you need to do is think about your overall thesis and argument and how that can be broken up into 2 or 3 parts. We're going to talk about 3 parts today and having 3 mini arguments or concepts, whatever you want to call them. And each of those mini arguments are going to make up the first body, the second body, and the third body. So they end up being your topic sentence. And I'll explain it a little bit easier. If you want to borrow the car from your parents, you're not just going to say, can I borrow the car because I really want to borrow the car? You're probably going to give them a series of reasons why you should borrow the car. I need to borrow the car because I'm coming home really late from the library, so it's probably going to be safer if I drive home. I need to borrow the car because otherwise I can't do my study because I need to go to the library. And the third reason, I think that I've been a really good kid and I deserve to be able to borrow the car. So you've got 3 of these mini little arguments for your overall objective to borrow the car. So it's the same in your essay. You're going to have your overall thesis and argument, but you're going to need to think of 3 little mini arguments that support that, and they will make up the topic sentences of the 3 bodies within your essay. And once you've done that, your essay becomes really easy. The next thing you need to do is make sure you have, prior to going into the exam, a really good understanding of text. So you can instantly say, yes, I'm going to talk about this in this little argument about the crucible or whatever text you're studying, and I'm going to use this quote and this, in this case, dramatic technique. Okay, so then you've got everything you need to give you your essay. You've got your discussion point, your topic sentence, you're having a sustained thesis, you're analysing the text, because once you start talking about techniques and how they create meaning, you're analysing, and you're also including textual evidence. So you've got all the things that make up an essay that is going to be a really effective one. You can see here on the essay structure, I've just put it really simply down and broken it up into your introduction, body 1, body 2, body 3, and conclusion. We've talked about what your introduction needs, and we've just looked at what your body needs, and each body basically needs the same thing. Your mini argument, which you'll use as your topic sentence, then you'll need a discussion of how your text support the mini argument. You'll need textual evidence, which is simply a quote from the text, techniques and how they create meaning, and a closing statement. This closing statement is really important because it sums up that little mini argument, and then you need a linking word or a linking sentence to bring you to the next paragraph, and that could be as simply as using in comparison to, or similarly, or nonetheless. Body 2 and 3 are going to be identical, except you're going to be talking about and discussing and analysing different aspects of the texts, and your conclusion simply sums up what you've said throughout your whole essay and reiterates your argument. So you can see that now you have a sustained thesis right through your essay, you have analysis, not summary, you have examples from the text, and you've really been able to convince the HSC marker or your teacher or whoever's reading your essay of your argument, because you have got all these little mini arguments supporting it. This last slide here shows you an example of a student's work, and this is from the exam workbook here from the Board of Studies. So it's an actual student's essay, and they're all high band 5 or 6 responses. So let's have a look, and I've highlighted it for you so you can easily see where the thesis is, where the mini concepts are. It's pretty much a perfect introduction as it includes every single thing that you need. So let's have a look at the dark blue. This is your overall thesis. Humans have an inherent desire to establish a sense of belonging as it can instigate feelings of comfort and security. There's our overall thesis, and it also refers to the question, which I'll also put up on a different slide, and it shows us exactly what the essay is going to talk about. If you have a look at the 3 purple parts that are highlighted, they're your mini arguments or concepts. So the first concept is individuals can perceive the flaws of their society and can alter their sense of belonging. The second concept is how an individual's perception of their sense of belonging can change due to the interactions between themselves and their society. And concept 3, if one's values are incongruous with their community. So you've got 3 mini concepts here that all relate to the main overall thesis. And each of those mini concepts are going to make up 3 parts or the body. So body 1, 2 and 3, and they're going to make up the topic sentences for the body. I've also highlighted the authors, all spelt correctly, all referred to correctly: Arthur Miller, David Malouf, Henkel von Donnersmarck. They've also got the context in aquacolor, telling us when the texts were created: 1953, 2000 and 2006. There's also quite a good variety of context in there as well. And the student has also correctly identified the form. The Crucible is a play. They've done a short story and a film. What's really good about that is not only have they used the form correctly, but they've got a variety of forms in there. So as a marker, I'm going to know that this student knows how to analyse not only the play, which is their core text, but they also know how to analyse literary techniques in a short story and film techniques in a film. And that's really important because I'm thinking that they have a really sophisticated grasp of English and how techniques create meaning across a range of forms. We've then got the texts using capital letters, the Crucible, Closer, The Lives of Others, and having them underlined just so they're easy to find. Throughout your essay, you can just use the surname of the composer to make it easier for you, and it might make it a little bit quicker in the writing as well. In this introduction, before we leave it, have a look at the vocabulary as well. I know straight away that this person has a really sophisticated vocabulary. They know what they're talking about and they know their content. And this is just an introduction, so it leaves me as an HSC marker with a really good impression of this essay, and I'm going to be, really excited to read the rest and hope that they sustain the quality that they have shown me in the introduction. They've used inherent desire, the word establish, instigate, comfort and security, which are definite connotations of belonging. They've looked at how composers explore, and perception, interactions, incongruous with their community. So all these beautiful, all this really nice vocabulary that really shows me that they know what they're talking about. They've engaged with their text, they've engaged with the modules, they've probably done some independent research and they know what they're talking about. So immediately I'm thinking that this is going to be a really good essay.